This is Gary Barr. I wanted to talk to you guys a little about some of the things that we've got coming up in the SEER schedule, and also give you a little idea of some other stuff that's coming up in the American Hard Enduro scene. If you've been keeping up with it, the AMA has got a series coming up, and that's going to be fantastic for our sport. But we've also got a little kind of unofficial series going with the SEER group that I want to talk to you guys about. We've got some races that are going to be a little bit different. We're going to have the Groundhog, the Grizzly Run, the Sasquatch GPS race, the Holly Tree race, and then the Cliffhanger here at my house. So these are going to be races that are going to be a lot of fun, and I want to talk to you primarily to the guys that have been thinking about doing these. You may have done some hare scrambles. You've got a hare scrambles bike that's set up with basically a hare scramble setup, and you may not be real familiar with what to do with your bike to get it set for one of these hard enduros, and you may be a little bit nervous about it. So I wanted to talk to you guys about how to do that. I just finished rebuilding my bike, and it gives me a good chance to show it off and tell you some of the things that I've done to my bike to give you some ideas of what you might incorporate in your bike to get it ready for some of these hard enduros. First of all, what we're going to try to do is have in all of these events an A and a B line. So if you're worried about your skill level, about having a section that's unpassable for you, don't worry about that. The B line will still be very challenging, but it won't be soul crushing, and it'll be good for your first event. The A line will definitely be challenging for everybody else. It'll be all you want. So we're going to try to incorporate those in each one of our events. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go through my bike and show you some of the things that I've done. These are all ideas that I've stolen from other people, one of which is Graham Jarvis. I was fortunate enough a couple of years ago to do one of his classes, and he spent the first hour going through his bike, talking about the things that he's done to his bike and why he does it. So I've incorporated most of those ideas into my bike, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. So to begin with tires, the front tire setup is, I think, a lot more important than people think. I've got a Dunlop 32, or S3 actually is what they call this now, which is a good all-around tire for just about anything you want to do, hare scrambles or hard enduro. And the reason is the knobs are spaced far apart, so it's pretty good in the mud, but they also are very soft. So these grab onto the rocks a lot better than you might think. I run a tubeless system, and with this setup I can run virtually no air. And I think that is a tubeless system with hard enduros is a great way to go. A lot of people like mooses, but if you're looking for the ultimate traction, I think a tubeless system is a thing to do. I run slime in it, and if I get a flat, I can see where the hole is, because the slime starts leaking out. A lot of times I just pump it up and the slime will actually plug the hole. But if that doesn't do it, I can stick a plug in it real easy. So this is a good tire if you don't want to change tires between a hard enduro and a hare scrambles. This is an MX52, which is a soft terrain or a hard terrain tire. So it actually has soft knobs, and it grips the rocks real well. At the Trials Training Center, this is a real good setup. The problem is it's not any good for anywhere else. It's terrible in the mud. This is an Ibex gummy front tire. I haven't tried it yet. Ibex makes a real good rear tire. I kind of have a feeling it's going to work real good, but I'll let you know in about 3 months. Now, Graham talked a lot about his suspension setup, and what I think it comes down to is this. Number one, he emphasized that at the beginning of the year, he gets a setting that he is happy with, and then he leaves it alone. And his thinking was that he wants to know what the bike is doing, and he'll compensate for whatever the suspension is doing at the time, but he doesn't want a surprise. I kind of like that thinking. So what I suggest with your suspension is, number one, you've got to have the right springs. Number two, you've got to have fresh oil. Number three, get out your manual, set it to factory settings with both your sag, your compression, and your rebound dampening. That's usually 13 clicks out, seems like. Whatever it is, set it. Mess around with it a little bit, get a setting you like, and then leave it alone. That's what I've done with mine, and I think it works real well. Graham is a believer in keeping everything up on his handlebars very light. He doesn't run a steering stabilizer, he doesn't run bark busters, and he says it's all because of the weight. He says he can feel it. I had some Flex bars on this, I took them off because they weighed a ton. I've got regular bars on there. I could tell a big difference. I run a manual fan, and that's what Graham Jarvis and everybody else does. He says he likes to control how much when his fan is on and off. I run one because I fried my original one, but I was able to get a Spiel fan, S-P-E-E-L, off of eBay, which is the same fan that comes in a Trail Tech kit. That's 60 bucks. Switch is about 10 bucks off of eBay, so for about 70 bucks you can get fan set up, and you're going to need it. This is a SRT radiator brace. These things are indestructible. They don't pay me to say it, but they are. These are great if you get stuck a lot, which I do. This is a SRT pipe with a radiator guard on it. That's a $160 pipe. That's a bargain. I run bark busters because I break levers because I throw my bike down a lot, and with regular flag hand guards I didn't want to buy levers all the time. Now we're going to have some GPS races, and this setup right here, let me talk to you a little about this. First of all, this is a Garmin setup. It's pretty expensive. It works fairly good, but the problem I had with it is I could not see it. The screen was too small. I bought this Kyocera DuraForce phone off of eBay. It does not have a cell connection to it. I didn't have to turn it on, but it has a built-in GPS. It's indestructible, and for 50 bucks, it's got a built-in GPS. You get the Gaia, G-A-I-A app for it, and you are good to go. I am not tech savvy. I figured this out. In all honesty, I think this is a lot better setup than a regular GPS setup where you have to mess with the programs on a laptop to get it to work. You don't need any programs for this to work. This is a great setup. This is a RAM mount. You get those for about 40 bucks. So for about 80, 90 bucks, you've got a real good GPS setup which you can see, which is huge to me. This is a Guts Racing sticky seat. What's neat about that is that it's Velcroed on. You don't need to use staples. I just rebuilt my engine. If you're not sure about your engine, I can tell you this. If you're going to do a hard enduro, you want a tight engine. Low end grunt comes from having a tight engine. You can get away with an engine that's a little bit loose and hair scrambles, but a hard enduro, if you're looking for low end, that's where you're going to get it. I put on a high compression head just to get a little bit more grunt. I had one on my 250. It worked real well, and a lot of people run those things, again, just for that low end right off the throttle grunt. Skid plate, this is SXS skid plate. Regardless of the brand, you've got to have one that's going to protect your linkage. And not only is it going to save you money with your linkage, but if you're going over logs, you can slide over the logs. This is a SRT disc guard. I should run one in the front. I don't, but as you can see, that's taken a lot of abuse. Good investment. Ibex rear tire. You can run that thing flat. It's got a pretty stiff sidewall. I run it with a tubeless system and slime, and if it gets nasty, honestly, I let all the air out. This is a FMF silencer. I had a shorter silencer on it. I felt like the power characteristic was not what I was looking for. I wanted a more linear power characteristic, and a longer silencer seems to give that. So I tried that, and it worked out real well. Graham uses 1350 gearing, and that's what I've got on here. I've tried a couple combinations, but what I found is regardless of the bike you have, the gearing you have, what you want to do is get second gear set up so that you're going to do most of the gnarly stuff in second gear. First gear is when you get off and push. So sixth gear, it doesn't really matter because you're not going to use it. I run the sag on this is supposed to be at 110 millimeters. I've got this at 120. I like it to sag a little bit more just for my feet to get to the ground. And then also, if I got it to 110 millimeters, I don't have enough adjustment. So truth is, I probably need a heavier spring, but for what I'm doing, I kind of like it real soft. And so 120 millimeters is what I'm running right now. So that's my bike, and I'm going to try to do a video of some skills in the coming weeks. I'm going to try to get some of my friends that have some good skills and go out and get some videos of them going through some rocks and stuff like that. So I hope to see everybody out at the races, and that's it. See ya.